Under the cold light of a laboratory sits a fragment of bone so small it could almost disappear in the palm of your hand. No face. No name. No story anyone remembered. And yet, locked inside that tiny fragment was the genome of Denisova 11, a teenage girl who lived in Siberia roughly 90,000 years ago. Her mother was a Neanderthal. Her father was a Denisovan. Two ancient human populations crossed paths. Somehow, somewhere, a child was born. And then silence. Because this is exactly where the DNA stops talking and your curiosity takes over. It cannot tell us whether her parents spent years sleeping beside the same fire. It cannot tell us whether they separated after a single winter, found other partners, or met only briefly before disappearing back into two different worlds. Which leaves us with a strange question. If DNA can identify the parents of an ancient child, but cannot reconstruct the relationship between them, can we ever know whether our ancestors bonded with one partner or moved between several? A child can prove that two people met. She cannot prove how they loved. One partner sounds like one simple question. Scientifically, it is actually four. Did two people choose each other over everyone else? Did they live together? Did they raise children together? And did they reproduce only with each other? Those four answers can line up, but they do not have to. A pair bond simply means that one individual has become selectively important, someone you search for, recognize, prefer, and miss when they are gone. That is not the same thing as sexual exclusivity. Not exclusivity. Attachment. A pair bond does not prove that neither partner ever mated with someone else. It does not prove they stayed together for life. It may not even prove they lived together in the way a modern couple would recognize. So what can the past actually show us? Archaeology can place two bodies inside the same grave. DNA can identify a mother, a father, and their child. But neither one can measure a promise. Neither can recover tenderness. Neither can mark the exact day affection ended and separation began. Bones preserve proximity. Genomes preserve reproduction. Relationships leave a far softer trace. One partner sounds like one question. Scientifically, it is four. To find the beginning of pair bonding, we have to go back beyond marriage, beyond language, perhaps even beyond the human lineage itself. Because the nervous system did not invent attachment from scratch. Evolution rarely does that. It takes old machinery and gives it another job. Systems that once helped a mother recognize her offspring, guard them, and search for them when they disappeared could also make one adult partner feel different from every other adult nearby. Imagine standing in the middle of a crowded group. You know the faces. You know the voices. You know the scents. And still, for reasons you may not be able to explain, one individual pulls at your attention more strongly than all the others. Why that one? Networks involving oxytocin, dopamine, memory, stress, and reward can make contact with one particular individual feel valuable. Separation begins to feel wrong. Reunion feels rewarding. Another stranger may be available, but this individual is preferred. Not a wedding vow. More like a biological spotlight. Then early humans began raising children who needed years of feeding, carrying, protection, and teaching. In that kind of world, cooperating with a familiar partner could help. One adult gathered food. One watched for danger. One carried the child when the other could not. But wait, the partner was never the whole system. Grandparents could bring food. Older siblings could watch infants. Other adults could share labor, danger, and loss. Pair bonding did not begin as a promise to stay forever. It began as a way to make one individual matter. Now imagine an African grassland roughly 1.8 million years ago. Heat presses down on the ground. Predators scan the horizon. Every meal has to be found, opened, carried, and defended. And right in the middle of all that, place a young Homo erectus child. Small legs, slow growth, empty hands. When danger approaches, the child has to be carried. When adult food is too hard to chew or digest, someone has to prepare it. During sleep, someone has to watch. Over time, someone has to teach that child where water can be found, which plants are safe, and what sounds in the darkness mean trouble. Meanwhile, the mother still has to move. She has to eat, recover, avoid predators, and survive long enough to keep doing all of it tomorrow. So who keeps the child alive? Some evolutionary models place a deepening of cooperative care around the time of Homo erectus. As human bodies and brains became more expensive to grow, food and attention from several individuals may have helped mothers support children who remain dependent for years. One person brings food back. Another softens it or breaks it apart. Another watches the child while the mother searches farther from camp. The easy answer is that one committed male stepped in and solved the problem. But did he? A dependable partner could share food. He could defend resources. He might carry the child or protect the mother while she recovered. That matters. But one pair could not make illness disappear. It could not erase injury, hunger, predators, or the sheer cost of years of dependence. And that is the twist. Cooperative care does not cancel the pair bond. It changes what the pair bond is for. The pair may have created one reliable connection inside a much wider network, while grandparents, siblings, relatives, and campmates stretched the safety net around them. Not a private island. A dependable bridge. The human pair may have mattered because it joined the team, not because it replaced the team. Now leap forward to Gergy-les-Noisets in what is now France, sometime between roughly 4,850 and 4,500 BCE. There is no pyramid here, no royal palace, no towering monument carved with the names of the dead. There are simply 128 graves spread across ordinary ground. And then, DNA begins reconnecting the people inside them. Researchers recovered genetic information from 94 individuals and used it to reconstruct 2 extended family trees. The larger tree connected 64 people across 7 generations: parents, children, grandparents, cousins, descendants one layer after another beneath the soil. 7 generations. Think about that for a moment. A community living, dying, and continuing through the same family lines long enough for one human life to become an ancestor, then a memory, then a genetic branch inside someone born generations later. And the pattern was not random. Men often remained connected to the local paternal line, while numerous women appeared genetically unrelated to the community and may have arrived from other groups. A woman leaves one network. She joins another. A child connects the two. At first, this looks like the answer we have been searching for. Stable couples. Stable descent. Stable community. But wait, look closer. Researchers found no half-siblings within the pedigrees they reconstructed. That pattern is consistent with reproductive partnerships stable enough for the same two people to have several children together. It is tempting to stop there. One partner, one household, one clean ancestral line. Except absence is not proof. Another partner may have existed, but left no child buried in this cemetery. A relationship may have ended before a new one began. Some people may have left the community and been buried somewhere else. Others may never have entered the burial ground at all. The cemetery preserves only the people who made it into the cemetery. Stability leaves a clean genetic line. Love does not. Two people can produce children without loving each other. Two people can love each other without ever producing a child. Two people can spend decades together and still leave no paired grave, no shared inscription, no biological signal that proves what they meant to one another. A family tree maps reproduction. It does not map the heart. Still, Gergi tells us something important. Reproductive bonds appear to have helped organize residence, ancestry, belonging, and movement between communities. Pairing was not just a private matter between two individuals. It could shape where people lived, which group they entered, who counted as kin, and how a village continued through time. It helped build a community that endured across 7 generations. A grave can tell you where someone's life ended. A pedigree can tell you who came from whom. Neither one can tell you what happened beside the fire after everyone else had fallen asleep. If you are still with me, subscribe, because the next tomb breaks the cleanest answer we have. About 5,700 years ago, people in Britain carried their dead into the 2 stone chambers of the Hazelton North Long Cairn. Centuries later, DNA from 35 individuals allowed researchers to reconstruct a 5-generation pedigree. At the center of it stood one founding man and 4 different mothers of his children. 4. Just like that, the clean image of one ancient couple begins to crack. The genetic record also indicates that both men and women in this community sometimes had children with more than one partner. So what are we looking at? Polygamy, affairs, a sequence of relationships, widows and widowers forming new unions after death had broken the old ones. The tempting move is to reach for the most dramatic answer. But wait, DNA cannot give us that. A genome can reveal that one person reproduced with partner A and partner B. It can count those biological connections. What it cannot tell us is when they happened. Those relationships may have overlapped. One may have begun only after the other ended. Years may have separated them. Death may have separated them. The genome cannot tell us whether the partners shared the same home. It cannot tell us whether they felt affection, competed with each other, cooperated peacefully, or mourned when someone disappeared. The same genetic pattern can fit several completely different human lives. One founder, 4 mothers. But not one clear relationship system. Hazelton North does not prove that ancient people rejected pair bonds. It shows that pair bonds could end, change shape, or exist alongside other arrangements. A person could bond again. A household could be rebuilt. A new partner could enter after separation, migration, or death. Reproduction leaves names in a family tree. The time between those names vanishes. Ancient DNA can reveal multiple partners. It cannot reveal whether they were shared, replaced, or mourned. But before we turn these graves into a complete map of ancient love, there is one problem we cannot ignore. A cemetery is not a perfect copy of the living community. Some people were buried somewhere else. Some never had children. Some children may have been raised by adults who were not their biological parents. And any relationship that produced no child becomes almost invisible once DNA is all we have left. No child, no genetic trail, and even Hazleton North refuses to fit neatly inside a bloodline. 8 individuals who were neither close relatives nor reproductive partners of the main lineage were still placed inside the same tomb. Why were they there? Maybe they worked beside the family. Maybe they shared food, danger, illness, and daily life. Maybe they belonged because they had earned a place, not because they had inherited one. Genes can tell us who reproduced. They cannot tell us who stayed with the sick, who shared food during scarcity, or who became family without sharing blood. Genes record reproduction. Communities remember relationships. So now we can finally tear down the easiest answer. Our ancestors were not simply naturally faithful, but they were not naturally unfaithful either. One cemetery gives us reproductive partnerships stable enough to continue through 7 generations. Another gives us one founding man who had children with 4 different women. And one small fragment of bone from Siberia proves that even the boundary between Neanderthals and Denisovans could be crossed. Stable pairs, multiple partners, unexpected encounters. Which one of those is human nature? All of them. And none of them by itself. Evolution did not hand our species one fixed mating rule. Not permanent exclusivity. Not endless promiscuity. Something more useful than either. A flexible bond. Humans could make one individual matter enough to share food with them, protect children beside them, divide work, combine families, and build trust over time. But the length and rules of that bond could change when death entered the picture. When people migrated, when a child needed more care, when the whole structure of the community shifted, imagine 2 people building a life together in one world, then losing each other when that world changes. The attachment is ancient. The arrangement is not. And that flexibility may have been the hidden advantage all along. A rigid system works only while the world remains familiar. A flexible one can survive famine and abundance, isolation and migration, peace and disruption. Evolution did not give humans one mating rule. It gave us a bond flexible enough to survive changing worlds. Now bring that question into your own life. When you want one person to feel like home, that feeling is not just poetry. An ancient attachment system is giving one voice, one face, one presence, more emotional weight than everyone else around you. You notice when they walk into the room. You notice when they leave. You notice when the sound you expected is replaced by silence. One person becomes familiar, then important, then difficult to imagine replacing. And yet, somewhere inside you, another part may still wonder about the roads you never took, the lives you never lived. the people you never chose. Does that mean something is wrong with you? No. The flexibility that helped humans survive death, separation, migration, and changing communities did not vanish when modern relationships appeared. You inherited the ability to attach deeply. You also inherited the ability to imagine alternatives, to stay and still wonder, to commit and still question. That contradiction is not proof that love is missing. It is part of what makes commitment meaningful. Your ancestors did not leave you one pure instinct with one clear instruction. They left you several systems pulling at once: attachment, curiosity, security. And modern culture asks you to turn that mixed toolkit into a conscious decision, not which impulse is the real human one. A better question is, what promise will you build from the impulses you have? Your contradictions do not prove that you cannot love. They prove that human love was built to make choices. Return one last time to Denisova 11 beneath the cold laboratory light. Inside a fragment smaller than your palm is proof that two ancient human lineages came close enough to create a child. A Neanderthal mother, a Denisovan father. One girl carrying both histories inside her body. And yet everything we want to know most has disappeared. Did her parents sleep beside the same fire every night? Did they raise her together? Did one of them search when the other vanished, or remember them after death? The bone cannot answer. Not because those moments did not matter. Because intimacy leaves almost nothing that can survive for 90,000 years. Across millions of species and hundreds of thousands of years of human history, our ancestors did more than reproduce. They turned closeness into rules, stories, and promises. They built families through blood, but also through belonging. They stayed. They left. Sometimes they woke up and chose the same person again. The past cannot tell us which relationship is natural, because human nature was always larger than one arrangement. What survives is not one perfect rule. It is the ancient ability to make another life matter, and the freedom to decide what that bond will ask of us. The bond is ancient. The choice is ours. Subscribe.